morning, everyone. We are talking about what is the future of corrugation market in India in terms of predictions and trends. If we have to understand trends, then we need to understand the history of this industry and how this industry is undergoing a huge transformation from what it was 5 decades ago to what it is today and what it will be in the coming time. So, taking charge of the change is what the theme of this conference is. The biggest question that comes into my mind is, who is going to take the charge? Change is definite, but the point is, who is going to take the charge? Is it, I'm speaking purely from my industry point of view, is it our traditional corrugated box manufacturers who are going to take the charge? Or is it some aliens who are going to come and take charge of this industry? So at the end of my presentation, you will clearly get an answer to who is going to take charge of this industry. And there's another thing that we have observed is, earlier we used to have a clear-cut demarcation between various packaging companies, you know. Somebody who is in mono-carton, he's purely into a mono-carton. Somebody who is in flexibles, they are purely into that. You know, well clear-cut, defined, nobody interfering with anybody else's business. But the last 3 years, particularly after our country went through a huge suffering, I'm finding a lot of changes, meaning there is an sort of an interdisciplinary activity happening. Somebody in mono-cartons wants to get into corrugation. Somebody who is in corrugation wants to get into flexible packaging. So I think that, diffusion between the various packaging things are happening in a very strong way. So let's see. In order to look at the history of corrugated industry and why this history is important is to understand what are the change that is happening. And I said, based on the change, who is going to take the charge, right? So it started around 1960s in India, although way back as early as 1893 was officially the first corrugated boxes were used for shipment in US. But as far as India was concerned, it started only in 1960s. Prior to that, companies like Hindustan Lever, etc., they would use what is called as boxes made out of solid containers, like solid board, 3 mm thick board and 4 mm thick board, not corrugation board. Federation of Corrugated Box Manufacturers was formed in 1971 when we had a lot of people starting manufacturing these boxes. It's a federation which has got 13 regional associations. Like we have one regional association in Karnataka, referred to as Karnataka Corrugated Box Manufacturers Association. So it's across India, we have 13 regional associations. And we have today about 3,000 registered members in our association. This is registered members, and we have a lot of unregistered members. Now, we really don't know what is that number. If you ask senior people in our federation, I will say 1,500, somebody will say 2,000, somebody else will say 3,000. Really, we don't know what is that number. Because even in a small village, I've seen an corrugation box manufacturer doing 50 tons business per month, and he is nowhere on the map of our industry. Yeah? Operations are mostly, it's a small, most of the members, our members are small scale industries, and majority of them are using what we call as a manual method of manufacturing. In the year 2008, another association was formed, referred to as ICCMA. This was an association formed by large corrugated box manufacturers, and it started becoming very active from 2012. As of today, they have about 200 plus members in that association, and all of them are what we refer to as making corrugated boxes using state-of-art equipment, or in our own language, we call it as automatic plants. Technology adopted by most of these people is what is the latest technologies that are there globally. Yeah. Now, why there are 3,000 registered members in FCBM, and why there are so many unregistered members? Okay. In order to understand that, and why it is that almost all of them are small scale industry. When I say a small scale industry, I'm saying that an capacity to produce is as low as 50 tons to a maximum of about 250 tons. Anybody beyond 250 tons have migrated to a different level of operations. So here we are talking in an absolutely small way. And what was the reason for this? In order to understand that, box manufacturing was not only a small scale sector, but it was a reserved small scale sector. And the moment you say it's a reserved small scale sector, it means that large investments are not allowed under the government policy. In the beginning, the maximum limit on plant and machinery was 25 lakhs. And by the year 2000, it went on slowly increasing, and came up to 1 crore as a maximum limit on plant and machinery. And also, it can be small scale. A lot of products are under small scale, but it is not under reserved small scale. Meaning that somebody who wants to, set up a corrugated box manufacturing plant putting 5 crores investment was not possible. Legally, it was not possible. He will be dragged to the court and stopped from manufacturing because it fell under reserved small scale sector. In the year 2000, because of a lot of pressure from export houses, where the product they were manufacturing is very good, however, the packaging that was used was something which was not so good, and they would have a lot of issues in the international market. And so there were a lot of complaints from export houses saying that our products are good, but packaging is very poor. And the reason for that is the technology was not there at all in manufacturing a good quality corrugated boxes at that time. So the government decided to de-reserve this from reserved small scale sector, and that happened in year 2000. And from then onwards, we have seen a huge investments that is coming into this industry, and we have seen a lot of technology being infused into this industry. So as you can see, the limit, that's what I've explained here. In 2000, that's what let's go to the next slide. In the year 2004, in the beginning of 2000, government will never give you 100% solution in one go. They will always give you in piecemeal, So in the 2000, they said we are de-reserving corrugated board manufacturing. Okay, but what's the use of just making a corrugated board? You have to convert that into a corrugated box. That was not de-reserved, right? So therefore, it never kicked off. And so finally in 2004, they said even corrugated box is removed from small scale reserved category. That's when technology started coming in, and a lot of improvements have happened. So if you see year-wise, up to the year 2004, the maximum investment people were doing in plant and machinery was about 1.5 CR to 2.5 CR, with the total project cost being around 3 crores to 4 crores. Uh, the addition being, small infrastructure like building and electricity, etc. Then from 2005 to 2010, okay, many of the existing corrugators who were at the upper levels of manual manufacturing, meaning who had 2-3 plants, each one doing 200 tons or 250 tons, overall doing about 500 tons. They had courage to change the technology and go in for automated way of manufacturing. So in 2005 to 2010, the investments in plant and machinery was in the region of 5 to 6 crores, and the total project costs were around 10 to 12 crores. 2010 to 2015, people became more ambitious. Volumes were going up. So we had people investing around 10 to 15 crores with a project cost of 25 to 30 crores. And you can see that the major changes have happened from 2020 onwards. Okay? It's really very surprising that in 2020 we had, such a big setback because of pandemic. But in our industry, we have found that huge investments have started coming, particularly in corrugated box manufacturing. And we have looked at plants coming up in the range of 100 to 125 crores. And there are some plants which are even as high as 150 crores being invested. So that is the huge change that this industry has undergone in the last 15 years. And that is what, when I meant that change is happening, but who is going to take charge of this change? You see, because it was under reserved sector, reserved small scale sector, till the year 2004, a lot of international companies did try to come in. Like I have personally interacted with a lot of international companies, but in 1996 till about 2000, companies like International Paper, SCA, all these people wanted to come to India and set up manufacturing plants for corrugated box. But when they saw the legal issues, okay, they all went back. So there was no international company in India which was producing corrugated boxes. But after 2004, when the change happened, but still international corrugated companies did not come immediately because there were some strict regulations on foreign direct investment into the industry. However, after 2011-12, we have seen that these regulations have been eased out, and today we are looking at 100% FDI owned foreign companies setting up corrugated box plants, and that's all happening from 2020 onwards. And also a lot of other bigger industries, if you compare the turnover basis, if you look at monocarton industry or in terms of turnover, they were always far higher than a normal corrugator, and they have also been looking into setting up corrugated box manufacturing units, because the marketing is common, okay? Whoever is buying a monocarton, it's ultimately a primary packaging, and it has to go in a shipper, and so they have a relationship, and therefore they say, okay, something we can work out. The same thought process is happening with flexible packaging manufacturers. Those who are buying pouches, after filling, they have to put it in a corrugated, which is again a shipper. So they are also looking at these. And these are the companies with a lot of reserve funds and, they are used to setting up plants costing 50 crores and 60 crores, right? So for them, this figure is not something which has a mind block. Whereas our 3,000 members in FCBM, who have been used to all these years investing only 2 crores and 3 crores and 4 crores, for them a figure of 100 crores is definitely a mental block. That is what when I meant by saying that change is happening, but who is going to take charge of this change? Yeah. So, and as far as this business is concerned, there are certain observations that we have in last so many years. I have been personally involved in setting up many plants and advising many people across India. And what is that we have observed is that if the total investment, is around 15 crores in this industry, then the ratio of capital employed to the turnover that you can expect from this industry is like 1:3 to 3.5. Okay, there are some people who have even gone to a level of 4, but most of them are in the region of 3 to 3.5. That means those who have invested about 15 crores, we observe that they have a turnover ranging from 40 crores to 50 crores in between that annual turnover. Those up to 40 crores, it's around 2.5 times to 3 times. And 100 crores is like 2 to 2.5 times. And those who have invested above 100 crores, I really don't have figures to support this particular ratio, because most of them have come in the last 3 years, during this 2020 onwards. So none of them have really reached their full capacity of production. And therefore, this ratio, I'm still not able to give the exact number. But those who are in the range of 15 crores, 40 crores, they're already there from 2010. And these are all figures. These are all figures which are observed. Thank you. So if you see the last statement of mine, in my opinion, they are not able to reach, not because of market demand, okay, but due to infrastructure issues related to business. Okay. Now, I have given one reason as to why we had a 3,000 members, all in small scale activity, right? And that reason which I had given you was what we call as government policies regarding reserved small scale sector. But then there is also another very, very big reason for it. You see, earlier the road infrastructure in India was extremely poor. And this is one industry, corrugated box industry. I really do not know why, but this is the only industry where I have come across where buyers of corrugated box negotiate landed cost. They don't negotiate ex-works cost. Whereas in many of the other industries, it's always ex-factory cost is the negotiation, with the transportation being additional. But in this industry, for some reason, it has always been a landed cost. And this being a voluminous product, a full truckload will not weigh more than 6 tons of material. So when you are talking about a landed cost and they are negotiating a landed cost, there was always a range in which you can operate effectively and make money in that. And that range is around 200, maximum 250 kilometers, average being about 150 kilometers. So anyone who's putting up a plant in one location, okay, they can at the most service clients in a radius of 150 kilometers and not more than that. And at the same time, the clusters industrial clusters, like for example in Maharashtra we have MIDCs, Maharashtra Industrial Development. They were all very small industrial clusters spread across the entire Maharashtra. Same thing is true in Gujarat or maybe in other states. So if somebody is located in one particular area, there is an industrial estate, there is a cluster, there is a manufacturing activity, but that's not a very big cluster. So the demand for boxes from that one cluster is less, and therefore a huge plant being set up there didn't make any sense. And that's how we had so many, even in the olden days, we had multi-locational box manufacturing units, but they were all like 200 tons here, 200 tons there, 200 tons somewhere else. That's how it was spread. When you compare this with how it is happening in US or Europe, we have come across plants who talk about doing 10,000 tons per month, 12,000 tons per month. Well, there was no cluster in India where all the box consumption in that cluster can match 10,000 tons in a month. Okay, so that was not feasible. So that was one of the reasons why large plants never came up. But that is not true as far as other packaging materials like monocartons or flexible packaging was concerned. A full truckload of monocartons, is a huge value. And so it doesn't matter, you can transport it 800 kilometers, 900 kilometers, and still be competitive. Again, when it comes to flexible packaging, it's the same thing. A truckload is like big value, so it doesn't matter. But a full truckload of corrugated boxes will never be more than 1.5 lakhs or maximum 1,75,000. And in that, if somebody has to pay 25,000 rupees as a freight cost, it really is not a feasible option. But if you see the way the road infrastructure is happening today, okay? Like I'll give you one simple example. I have a client who has got 2 units, one in Ranjangaon, which is near Pune, and he has another unit in Nagpur. The distance is 700 kilometers, okay? From Pune to Nagpur, 700 plus kilometers. There was a breakdown in Ranjangaon plant. So they simply loaded all the boxes in Nagpur and Samruddin Super Express Highway. It took only 6.5 hours for it to reach the destination, right? And because of that, the same day the truck is going back, right? So cost of transportation is coming down. So with this type of super express highways that are coming in and clusters becoming larger and larger, people are now looking at setting up a location, single location, okay, where the production could be like 4,000 tons or 5,000 tons out of single location, which 2 decades ago was unimaginable as far as this industry was concerned. Yeah. Now, for the raw materials that is being used in our industry is basically mostly the kraft paper, having 90 to 250 GSM test liners, 175 to 140 GSM kraft liners, which are all imported, okay. Burst factor, which is basically the strength parameter, are like 16 to 35 maximum use, and there are some 12, 14, but that's it. Major consumption in this industry is 100 to 180 GSM, ranging between 16 to 24 BF properties. Yeah? Now let's look at what is the future growth in this corrugation market. Okay, because if people are investing in the year 2020 onwards, if people are talking about putting 100 crores, there is a reason why they are looking at it. Okay, like if you look at Boston Consulting Group, they're saying that will become a 4 trillion USD by 2025. We are already at around 3 to 3.25 as of last year. Yeah, so higher your GDP, it basically means that consumer growth will happen. Okay, consumers will buy more and more daily consumption products. It could be toothpaste, toothbrush, shoes, clothes, processed food, right? All this requires corrugated boxes. India is working towards 5 trillion GDP by 2027. Price Waterhouse says by 2040, India will become second largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. Okay, they are not talking in terms of GDP; they're talking in terms of purchasing power parity, which means that more and more spending is going to happen. Okay, people's purchasing power will increase, which again means your consumption of packaging material is going to go up. Not only of the corrugated boxes, but even all other packaging material that we are talking about. But then there's again one very peculiar aspect of our Indian market. One of the fastest growing business in India today is a processed food. Okay, that's the fastest growing. The second fastest growing is fresh produce. And earlier fresh produce used to all go in baskets and things like that. But today, many of the fresh produce, whether it's vegetables or whether it is fruits, they're all being packed in corrugated boxes and is going across. Now, when you talk about processed food, if you compare economy in US and Europe, and if you take it over here, I don't think any of you would be capable of buying a 200 ml milk in US in a Tetra Pak. Impossible. You can't buy, right? I doubt whether you can get even 1 liter. You may, but that is also rare. But if you want 5 gallon, you will easily get it. Nobody can buy a 200 ml orange juice, Tropicana orange juice. Tropicana in US never made a 200 ml this thing. So our industry, our consumers here in India, they all want small packs. Okay? Nobody wants big pack. That's the reason why edible oil, you see, there was a time during my grandfather's time, he would bring 15 liters of edible oil in a tin container. Today, who's buying? Nobody's buying that. Maximum selling edible oil pack today in India is 500 ml and 1000 ml. And both of them are going in flexible packaging. So consumption of flexible packaging is at a phenomenal growth in India. And that's the reason why in probably starting from about 4 years back till the next 6 years, you're looking at addition of about 4.5 million tons of film manufacturing capacity in India because of this trend. And every pouch cannot be sold, just cannot be transported as a pouch. It has to go into a corrugated boxes. And that's the reason why, again, the growth will happen much more than what these foreign companies are predicting, because they don't understand what is the purchasing thoughts in India, right? The current DG position, manufacturing share is about 28 to 30%, and export is around 10 to 12%, and 40 to 45% of this is the manufacturing sector. What is estimated is that manufacturing share will increase to 30 to 35% of GDP by 25-26. You see, service sector growing will not help us in selling more corrugated boxes, but manufacturing sector growing will definitely help. Of course, service sector growing will help in other activities of paper-based. Your paper bags consumption of paper bags will go up, paper cups will go up, all those things will go up, right? But corrugated boxes will not go up for service industry except in retail, e-retailing, which is really speaking not a big volume as far as corrugated boxes is concerned. It's a very, very small volume. But because it is hyped up, you ask anybody, they will say, oh, e-retailing, Amazon, Flipkart is like expanding at a great pace, and so the box industry will also grow. No, it's a very small percentage of the total box consumption by these e-retailers. Yes, it is growing, but others are also growing in a very fast pace. A 5 trillion GDP, the growth in corrugated boxes will be more in percentage terms than at current levels. You see, there is one document which was generated in the year 2005 by Government of India, Department of Scientific Advisory or something like that, where it was basically talked about vision for 2030. And that document was made taking into consideration that what would be the power requirement of our country as the GDP grows from 2005 to 2030. And power is something which cannot be created in 1 year or 2 years. These projects are like, it can take a decade for a power project to come up. So the study was basically done for 3 industries, which are, intensive power consuming industries. Steel, cement, and paper, all 3 of them. So there in that document, they have clearly shown how as the GDP increases, the paper demand also increases. And the paper demand, of course, consists of packaging grades as well as writing and printing grades. So in the beginning, from 2005 to 2015, the growth was more linear type of growth. As GDP is growing, this demand is also growing in a linear fashion. But after 2015, it has become an exponential growth. That is more consumption of packaging grades of paper as the GDP was growing in terms of percentage. Consumption of corrugated boxes will increase to about 15 to 16 million tons by year 2027. Last year's consumption was in the region of 8.5 million tons, somewhere between 8.25 to 8.5 million tons was the box consumption last financial year. So we are talking about going to 15 to 16 million tons, which is like practically doubling of the capacities. And if I have to, make a hazardous guess, which I'm sure it will happen, is that it could touch as much as 20 million tons of consumption of corrugated boxes. Yeah, and so let us see why. Okay, Morgan Stanley's blue paper says about the growth of India's economy by 2021. What is it they're saying? That India's GDP is likely to surpass 7.5 trillion by 2021, more than double the current levels, which means that we'll be adding almost $500 billion every year, okay? We estimate that manufacturing share of GDP, we does not mean me, it's what Morgan Stanley's statement in their this particular blue paper, okay? That manufacturing share of GDP will raise to 21% by 2031, implying an incremental 1 trillion manufacturing opportunities, which again means more packaging opportunities, which in turn again means more corrugated boxes requirement, yeah? We expect India's global export market share to more than double to 4.5% by 2031, providing an incremental 1.2 trillion export opportunity. This is maximum will come in this case from processed food. India will slowly become one of the world's major sourcing of processed food. And the fundamental reason behind that is, if you look at fresh produce in India, India is either number 1 or number 2 in any fresh produce, whether it is vegetables or whether it is fruits in the world, mind you, okay? There are some fruits which are number 1 in the world. There are majority of them, 90% of the fresh produce, either India is number 1 or number 2 between India and China, okay? And exporting fresh produce as is little difficult, but that is also happening. But the major problem we are having is that the most of the fresh produce, because of the way it need to be handled, the way it need to be transported, we find it more easier to process them and then sell the processed food, because it will have a longer shelf life. And that's the reason why fresh produce as well as processed food will be the maximum exported business. India's per capita income raises from current $2,000 to about $5,000 by 2021, setting a stage for discretionary spending boom Okay, this is what the blue paper of Morgan Stanley says. Okay, we have this 1.1 trillion incremental retail opportunity in 10 years. E-commerce penetration to nearly double from 6.5% to 12.3% by 2031. Okay. Then again, you're talking about, when you talk about e-retailing, it is unit shipment will become much more than a bulk shipment. And the moment unit shipment becomes more, consumption of packaging material will increase. The number of households earning in the range of $10,000 to $35,000 per year is likely to rise twofold in the coming decade to over 165 million households, which means again the spending capacity increases, purchasing increases, the packaging material requirement increases. Yeah, India's workforce in technology service sector to be more than double from 5.1 million to 12.2 million by 2031. Technology people are the yuppies, okay, and they are very, very, very particular about hygiene, about packaging, all these things. Okay, a farm worker is not worried. Even if his salary increases, he's not worried about all those things. Yeah, a factory worker is not worried, but a techie guy, he is extremely worried. Everything needs to be properly packed with all systems. So more the techie guys in India, better for us packaging people. Yeah. So if you see this, what Morgan Stanley has shown us is that in 2021, $0 to $5,000 per annum income levels was about 38% of the households, and 5,000 to 10,000 was 36% of the households. 10,000 to 35,000 was 24%, and above 35,000 was 2%. Whereas by 2031, I think this must be obstructing. 0 to 5,000, they said, is 13%. 5,000 to 10,000 difference, which again will help our packaging industry. Okay. Some of these global CEOs, what they are saying, India will be third largest economy. Working population still growing. India's median age is 11 years younger than China's. Local market is so strong in demand that export was not yet the key target. We don't have to worry about what's happening in the rest of the world. Whether Israel puts bomb on Palestinians, doesn't matter. Our major growth in India is within the domestic market. Export was never a huge part of our economy. India is extremely strong in digitization. We all know, like today when you are traveling by Ola, you give him cash, he said, "Mere paas chutta hi nahi hai." So I am dinosaur, I don't understand these things, so I never had a Google Pay. So every time he will say no change, I will end up getting, chalo, rakho abhi, I am getting late, I have to go. So finally my son said nothing doing, so he put a Google Pay in my mobile. No, I just simply pay, I don't have to lose money. Everybody, okay? That's what is happening, right? Opportunities are there for massive foreign investments, yeah? What Gautam Adani stated, okay? That India will become 30 trillion economy by 2050 on the back of raising consumption and socio-economic reforms. Mukesh Ambani stated that from 3 trillion economy, India will go to 40 trillion by 2047. He further says that Amrit Kal, the period between now and 2047, when India will be celebrating 100 years of independence unfolds, the country will witness an unprecedented explosion in economic growth and opportunities. These are the public statements made by these people. Yeah. So if you look at this, for example, export of transport vehicles in the last 9 years, 3.6 times raise. Okay, a car may not be packed in corrugated box. Okay, but all the spare parts of the car will be packed in corrugated boxes. So if there are more exports of cars from India, more spares have to go from India, more corrugated boxes will go from India. Okay, coffee export doubles in 9 years. Yeah, phone export has doubled to $5 billion. Tea export jumps by 14.8%. These are just some examples. India's export of pharmaceutical product has increased by 2.4 times. Agriculture and processed food export raises by 25%. See, agriculture and processed food export, right? This is what I was saying all the time, that major exports will come because of India will become one of the largest processed food and fresh produce exporters. So let's see some trends and issues. Yeah, quality demands of box users. Up to late 1990s, only demand by box users was what is called as a bursting strength and weight of corrugated box. The only parameter used in buying any corrugated boxes, what was the bursting strength of the corrugated box and what is weight of the corrugated box. Okay. 2000 onwards, box users have started demanding other performance parameters. Like they have started demanding compression strength requirement, puncture resistance requirement, flat crush, bending stiffness. These are additional properties that the customers have started demanding. And that's the reason why technology infusion has happened in this industry. Okay. If you look at this, for example, I've just hidden who is the client, but I don't mind mentioning it. IKEA, for example. They will be one of the largest consumers of corrugated box in India in the next 5 years. The way they are expanding, the way they have a product profile, okay? People think IKEA is only furniture company. No, they are selling pressure cookers, they are selling Teflon coated pans, you name it, and they are getting it manufactured and selling it, yeah? So if you see their packaging specification, okay, they are talking about bending stiffness, ECT, bursting, flat crush, cob, caliper. A box has to satisfy all these things before they can buy it. So it's not just a simple box any longer, yeah? Okay, these are what we are talking about, okay? Bending stiffness, heavy metal presence to be below 100 ppm. Today, everybody who is exporting out of India are insisting on providing a certificate that heavy metals in the corrugated boxes is below 100 ppm. Yeah. Requirement of different properties of kraft paper for liners and medium. Okay. Corrugated box requirement will increase. This I've already mentioned earlier. More and more high-speed automatic plants for box manufacturing. Corrugation machine speeds increasing at a fast pace. What was 10 to 30 meters about 2 decades ago, today we are installing plants which are running at 250 meters per minute speed. Yeah. Consistency of moisture profile. These are some of the requirements we have. A very important is standardization of paper, GSM and BF. This is something which has to happen if we have to supply this type of quality which the customers are demanding. So will India's kraft paper mill change at the same pace as the box industry is changing? That's a big question mark that we are having in our mind, because we are not confident that Indian kraft paper mill manufacturers will change as fast as the quality requirements of boxes is changing. Yeah. So now the new trends are integrated operation in box manufacturing. Okay, what do we mean by saying integrated operations? Paper mills moving towards setting up box plants. Okay, large multi-location box plants looking at setting up paper mills themselves. Okay, the second one is happening because of quality issues from the existing kraft paper mills, and in order to overcome that, the big corrugation plants, they say, let's set up our own paper mill. At least we can manufacture the quality paper that is required. Both are happening, okay? It's not new. And particularly both these have started happening after 2020, okay? Before it was not that much, but this has been happening after 2020. In past, due to poor road infrastructure, the capacity of box plants in one location was small, resulting in setting up multi-location plants. However, by 2027, express highways will change this trend. We have a super express highway coming up between Chennai and Bangalore. Okay, there was a time 5 years back, Chennai people could not think of supplying boxes to Bangalore because the cost of transportation is very high. A Bangalore corrugator could not supply to Chennai, but the whole equation is rewritten. Nothing to stop Chennai guy to sell here, nothing to stop Bangalore guy to sell in Chennai, because they say in 2.5 hours you can travel this distance between Bangalore and Chennai. These are the type of express highways which are coming up. Yeah. Thank you.